Hey everybody, long time no see. I'm gonna make some pineapple juice and just kind of talk because I've been gone for a while. I just want to give a little bit of an update of what's going on with me. Not much has changed. I'm not a fruitarian. Well, I guess for the last few days I have not been a fruitarian. I've eaten. Anna and I had a little dinner party over with some friends, and we made some zucchini noodles, and so I ate some garlic and oregano and basil and some nuts and seeds. Um, Anyways, no big deal. Just letting you know. Kind of wanted to talk about that. Feeling like I think transparency is a big deal, and yeah, I'm planning on going back to Fruitarianism because I feel best on this stuff. Honestly, I have some acne just from the last few days. It's just some small stuff. From the last few days of not eating a fruitarian diet, from eating some nuts and seeds. And yesterday, Anna and I went to a restaurant and had some greens. And I had this vinaigrette. Here they call it vinaigrette. Basically, it's tomatoes, peppers, onions. That's about it, and then they put that in vinegar and salt, and that's what they call vinaigrette. So I didn't have any oil or anything like that, but I had some of that, and that's actually when my acne popped up, just like hours after I ate it. It was just like, boop! Anyways, but yeah, getting back to fruitarianism, gonna make some pineapple juice. Been climbing a lot, been working out a good deal. Enjoying life. Working on the garden, getting ready for the Inca Fruit Fest, playing with the ducklings. That's another thing I wanted to mention. I'll just edit this part of the video in because I explain it here. We used to have 10 ducklings, and now we have 2 ducklings. I think they were just so malnourished from God knows however long they were away from their parents and didn't have any food that even once we got them and we got their nutrient ratios perfectly, which is kind of hard to do, ducklings need a lot of protein and a lot of niacin and very little calcium compared to chickens. And so once we got all that figured out, which we did immediately, they still every day they
See, they're eating my pet. Sorry.
They would die every single day.
The vet said that's
one
normal.
would die every day. Yeah, the vet said that's sort of normal, and he checked them and he said they were very malnourished. I don't know how he was able to tell because he didn't do any tests really, but anyways, yeah, it's sad. We had to bury a lot of ducklings, but we have 2.
These guys are strong.
At least some survived. Oh yeah, check this out. We built a little ramp for them to get up into their house. Anyways, yeah, so we lost some ducklings. We did all we could. Followed everything, got them the temperatures they needed, the nutrient ratios they needed, the pebble dust, everything they needed. And we just lost them. They're dropping like flies, one every single day. It seemed like it was just dead in the morning. It's really sad. But luckily, they did not all die. Luckily, they came to us, we found them, we rescued them, because had we not, they definitely all would have died. So, looking on the bright side of things, yeah, so one interesting thing I think has been happening lately, especially as of last night, one of my friends posted something about not using the label vegan anymore. I'm sure he's still technically vegan, following a plant-based diet with no animal products, but dropping the label of veganism. I've been thinking about doing this for a long time, but I'm kind of conflicted because I don't really agree with labels, but at the same time, the human language is just labels. That's all it is. Like, that thing over there is a tree, It doesn't describe the intricateness or the beauty of what it is. It's just, that's a tree, So I think we should either, a part of me at least thinks that we should either just stop using language altogether if we're so against labels, or we should just embrace labels and stop letting certain people ruin labels, or stop attributing things to labels that aren't what the description of the label is itself. For example, if I'm going to be leaving veganism because a bunch of vegans are rude, or because a bunch of vegans are immature, and I don't want to be associated with those people, then I don't think that's necessarily a very good argument in my mind, because I mean, veganism is amazing. Veganism is what veganism is. It's nothing more than that. Veganism is caring about animals, trying to do the least amount of harm possible. So letting some people who are immature or angry or resentful or whatever tarnish the name of veganism is silly. I don't think we should let them tarnish the name of veganism. Even though meat eaters will easily tarnish the name of veganism because perhaps they met a few insensitive vegans or preachy vegans. But there lies another problem. I've tried to be extremely nice and only using truth and never calling people names, and when I speak about veganism, but still people get offended because people don't like hearing bad things about their bad habits. So no matter how nice a vegan is, they'll oftentimes be labeled as an extremist or a preachy vegan or something like that just because they're trying to talk about veganism. Hello. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna keep using the name vegan. I'm not too worried about it. But let me know in the comments below what you think. This is Bruno.
Hola.
Bruno. Yeah, so I think I'm going to keep using the label vegan. I'm not going to let immature people tarnish the name, but I think it asks a lot of very interesting questions, because veganism, I'm going to butcher this, I'm going to paraphrase it, but essentially means doing your best to end animal suffering, to not contribute to animal suffering. And I think the vegan line, the line that encompasses veganism, is quite blurred in many instances. For example, I mean, do vegans not swat at mosquitoes when they're trying to be bitten, even though this mosquito may potentially have malaria, you know? Personally, I swat at mosquitoes. I kill mosquitoes if they're trying to bite me. Maybe I don't deserve the label vegan because of that. Another instance is this right here. The growth of it probably contributed to a lot less animal death than, say, wheat or corn, GMO corn, that not only used a shit ton of pesticides, but also is monocropped extensively, and the way it's harvested is used by big machines that kill a lot of mice and rodents in the fields, and possibly even deer, stuff like that. So, is this more vegan of a food than soy and rice and beans, stuff like that? If you can follow a fruit-based diet, if it's practical, because I think that's a part of the official vegan definition, is doing everything in your power that is practical to cause the least amount of suffering possible. So is following a fruit-based diet, if it is practical and possible, if you can afford it and have enough food to do it? Is that more vegan than eating rice, beans, and potatoes and other heavily monocropped, heavily sprayed foods? Is eating organic more vegan than eating inorganic because of the pesticides that are used to kill the animals? You know? It's interesting. I think this is a topic that should be talked about. I'm not trying to make other cooked food vegans feel bad. I'm not trying to do anything. It's just a discussion that I think should be had. Because the vegan line is blurry. It's a very blurry thing. If somebody is eating animal products or whatever, I highly suggest them to eat a whole food plant-based diet. I'm not against anybody who eats cooked food, or anything. I know that this food is not organic. I know that it's monocropped. So what I'm trying to say is, I know that this isn't perfect, and I know veganism is not about being perfect. It's about doing your best. But if it is about doing your best, and you can do better, isn't it vegan to keep trying to do better? Isn't it vegan to always try to improve your practices constantly? To do less and less harm, to grow a garden, to compost, to buy organic, to bike around instead of use your car because habitats are being destroyed by oil companies, etc. And even cooking. I mean, natural gas, coal, whatever is fueling your cooking, it all has some sort of environmental impact. And the environment is, after all, habitats for animals. So, this whole vegan thing is extremely blurry, extremely vague. And as we all know, veganism is not just a diet. So these questions are very valid. Yes, biking has something to do with veganism. Yes, not just whether your belt is made of leather or not has something to do with veganism. And especially in the world we live in today, where we have to make some drastic changes, these little changes of moving from something extremely unsustainable to something slightly less unsustainable is not going to cut it. We have to make some drastic fucking changes in order for us to have a planet in the future. It's pretty crazy. Yes, I think if everybody switched to a cooked vegan diet, we'd be fine for many more years than we would be fine now. I don't think we would be fine because I think we've perhaps reached some sort of tipping point where the ocean currents are going to stop being so strong or stop completely. We've done a lot of damage, and what my point is that we need to make some massive changes. And so maybe fruitarianism is not just some sort of an ideal, but something that is necessary, Switching to more of a raw, plant-based diet that not only uses the least amount of pesticides or the least amount of monocropping, the least that causes the most amount of carbon sequestering, is the most energy efficient, causes the least amount of water to produce, produces the most amount of food per acre. Fruit is literally the most sustainable food out there. There are some that are comparable. For example, I think sweet potatoes and stuff like that have a very high calorie to input-output ratio, if you know what I mean. Energy input-output, But for example, trees, you don't have to rip up trees every year and plant new ones. It doesn't cause the kind of soil erosion that other monocrop foods cause. So, in a world that drastically needs change, it drastically needs drastic change. It needs our best. It needs us to do our absolute best. And I'm not trying to say Fruitarianism is the best for everyone. I don't know what's best for everyone. I know what's best for me. I've done years and years of experimentation, gone on and off many, many times, and every single time, and my body tells me the same thing. Everything but fruit is not good for me, you know? I'm not saying greens are bad for me, but I don't feel as good as I do on greens as I do on fruit. So I'm just going to ask some hard questions here. I hope people don't think I'm against them. I encourage everybody to be on a whole food, plant-based diet, no matter if it's cooked or raw or whatever. If everybody in the world went whole food, plant-based diet, I would just shut the fuck up, and I would not encourage anybody to go fruitarian, unless, even if everybody does that, we still are not doing enough and we're still facing environmental collapse, you know? Then maybe I'd suggest that maybe we should take the next step or another step towards something more efficient, you know? So, I hope I haven't offended anybody, but honestly, I just don't care. I'm not being offensive. If you're offended by something I'm saying, then that's within you, honestly. You know, I've said nothing but true things. I'm getting really tired of being so sugar-coaty and just trying to cater to people's projection and insecurities, and because just people take things way too personally, you know, and that's not my problem. If I'm just telling the truth, you know, scientifically verifiable truth, just asking some simple questions, no matter how hard they may be to listen to, then I shouldn't be ostracized and criticized for that, you know? People are just way too insecure and way too taking things way too personally and way too conflicted and way too just cognitive dissonance, you know, pouring out of their fucking ears at all times. Anyways, that's not very, very loving of me. I have a lot of resentment towards the human race, if you haven't noticed. This video is getting about 19 minutes and 20 seconds, so I am going to stop. I think I've made my point. I hope this starts a bit of a discussion, because I would like to keep discussing it. I want to get to the bottom of this. I've been extremely resentful lately, and I've told myself that I'm going to stop talking about the negative effects of animal products all the time, because on Facebook I'm just like, hey, you've got cognitive dissonance if you think this. You're a hypocrite if you think this. And that doesn't help. What we need is inspiration. People need it to be inspired. People really need to acknowledge how destructive animal products are to the environment and to animals and to their health and all these things. People really need to acknowledge this, but at the same time, that isn't inspiring. That knowledge is not inspiring to most people. That makes people feel bad. Even if you don't tell them that they're bad people, they'll say, hey, I'm not a bad person because I eat this. And you're like, I never said you're a bad person. I just said that this causes a lot of environmental and animal degradation and suffering, you know? So I feel like I'm catering to this cognitive dissonance and this insanity and this deep insecurity, but at the same time, it's a good lesson for me, for one, for me to just be loving and accepting and inspirational and be positive. It's a great thing for me. I think this is a great lesson all vegans can learn. But at the same time, it's not fair. It's not fair. We should be able to just tell the truth, and people should just be able to accept it. It's not fair that we have to become quasi-enlightened just to talk about veganism, you know? That we have to beat around the bush of truth and just find the positive parts where, oh, I feel great. Oh, look, everything's great now that I'm a vegan, you know? Oh, I want to inspire you. Here's recipes. Don't look at this dying animal who's been tortured and enslaved and raped and had its children taken away from it. Don't look at that. Look at how much weight I lost, how much clearer my skin is. It sucks that people so self-absorbed and selfish and egotistical and all this stuff, but it's just the way it is. And so if us vegans want to change things, I think we really have to get over that part of us, because I think there is some egotism in just wanting to tell the truth in that way by saying, you know what, animal products are like, you need to change. Hey, hey meat eater, you need to change. Hey meat eater, you're hypocritical. No matter how truthful it is, it's ineffective, and I think there is a touch of egotism to that. Just being like, hey meat eater, judgment. You know, there's judgment within it, but even though judgment is something we all do and something that's not necessarily a bad thing or a negative thing, within the mind of the judger and within the mind of the judged, it's not. I think there's something better. It's not our full potential. You know, there's a way of being that is more loving and more accepting and more inspiring, and that, I think, is what a lot of vegans need to work towards. I know I do. I think I'm finally ready to stop being so resentful, at least try to start working on stopping so resentful, and start working on being a more effective communicator, a more inspiring person, a more influential person, and not so I become famous, but so the world starts changing, so things start changing, so there's less animals slaughtered, so there's more healthy, happy people to be around. Anyway, this video just keeps getting longer, doesn't it? I need to cut open one more pineapple, maybe two, make some juice, go buy some sodium bicarbonate, and go climbing. Climbing is a huge thing. I think everybody should climb because it's natural for our bodies. Climbing is awesome. You get strong. I've been doing nothing but climbing for the last month or so, and I think I'm getting pretty strong and happy and healthy and fit. So thanks for watching. Hope this has been interesting. Please comment below. I really do want comments. I want this not just to be a rant of mine. I'd like for this to start a discussion and people to talk about it. Yeah, I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time, but I haven't been inspired to. I'm really happy I'm finally making a video. Blah, blah, fucking blah, blah, blah. Thanks for watching. Peace.